Hey you guys, Dani here. Welcome to Walkthrough Wednesday. Today we are doing the Mary L. Tarot 2nd edition. So as always, be sure to check out our midweek reading. I almost tipped over my water after the walkthrough. But if you're looking for me in the meantime, all my links are in the description below, where you can find me on my email, Instagram, Etsy, where you can book a personal reading, and all kinds of other goodies for you. So check those out below, and I will see you on the other side. Alright you guys, let's talk Mary L. 2nd edition. So I will start by saying that I do not have the 1st edition. So there's that. I can't speak to that deck. I can only speak to the 2nd edition. So I'm going to start there first. As far as the box goes, this is a beautiful box. Nice and big. However, when you open it up, you can see that it's got a really nice latch. It kind of comes down, does this. Let me try not to burn it. However, when it came in, this is just kind of loose in there. And my cards had a very flimsy little paper connector on them that came around them. And they sloshed around everywhere. I had cards all the way underneath, and it almost looked like somebody had taken it off and crumpled it, and I heard that that was pretty normal as far as for other people getting it the same way. I do like the way that the book fits in here, but it's not something that I would ever use simply because it does nothing. These little paper flaps just don't do anything, so a little upset about the box. So on to the guidebook. This guidebook is chunky and meaty. It's got colors, pictures of the cards. It's got a nice kind of story behind it, keywords upright and reversed. I do love the spreads in the back here. And it's set up in a way that all the majors are together and then all of the same numbers are together. So all of the 5s, all of the 7s are all in one place. So I thought that was really neat. I really like the guidebook. Nice and chunky. A lot of good stuff in there. As far as the size goes, you can see it's a little bit smaller than a normal tarot. So let's go on to the cards. Now, these cards. Okay, these are incredibly unique to my collection. I have mostly Rider-Waite-Smith style decks, so this is something that my nerdy self thoroughly enjoys because I have to study this deck. I've done readings with it already, of course for myself. I'm not ready to take the leap into someone else just yet because this has so much to uncover. So if you're looking for a deck that kind of does its own thing and you really want to study something and kind of go deep, this Mary L. is phenomenal. And I know I've heard so many people say it over and over again from the 1st edition that this is that type of deck. But man, just having it in your hands, you can really understand. And I waited and kind of held out for this 2nd edition because I really wanted the borderless. I didn't want to have to trim the deck, but at the same time, I'm kind of sad that some of the cards changed, and that makes me want to go and buy the 1st one. So I'll put that on my wish list after I work with this for a while to really decide if I want to add the 1st one to my collection. Now, I did hear somewhere in the grapevine that these were supposed to be matte finish, and while I don't find that they are shiny, I don't know if I would consider them matte so much as just not so glossy. Does that make sense? I don't know. But all in all, I love the imagery and I love the depth that this deck has. Let's shuffle these bad boys. See, they shuffle really well. Riffle shuffle. They're a great size for that. And then, of course, hand over hand is really great. Okay, Now for a little bit of complaining. Not too much, but I was a little disappointed in the quality of parts of this deck. So let's get to that. So first, I want to go through the fact that while I love the idea of this nice black gilding, you can see that you can still see the colors through it. I don't know if it's even picking up. There we go. It's not, I don't know if it just didn't stick very well, but you can still see the cards kind of coming through, so the gilding is not all the way set. It did cause sticking, and on the front it's not so bad. I have this card that actually has, it looks like a drop of something, but it's actually in the print, I believe, maybe. You can see some are not so bad, but some kind of get really messed up. And some of the fronts of the cards, let me see if I can find one for you. Yeah, here we go. I can probably find a few. But as a good example, you can see it even made its way to the front of the cards, and this is like peeled kind of look. So I was very disappointed in the gilding because of the mess it made. Now this could be because of the way that it rolled around in that packaging. Some of the damage could be from that. But I feel like a lot of it just has to do with that sticky gilding and the cards not being able to dry very well, because there's a big lip on some of these. So when it comes to the quality of this one, I was quite disappointed that they would allow this. For my favorites, I have the Hermit for my major, the Queen of Swords for my court, and the Ten of Swords for my minor. Now with this, the Hermit I love because it reminds me of tentacles at the bottom of his cloak. Beneath the waves, it makes me think of these creatures from the deep that hide away that no one has ever seen before. So I really love that aspect of the Hermit. As for the Queen of Swords, it's definitely, for me, it makes a nod to Maleficent. That's who I think of. There's almost appears to be a castle in the background, and then you have these dark ravens, the big eye, like an all-seeing, all-knowing, also a nod to like Odin. But the first thing I thought of was Maleficent. And then when it comes to the minors, the Ten of Swords, I love this because instead of seeing the dead body, it's almost as if this creature is coming to take it away, right? So it's like this Grim Reaper, also has that nod to like a raven. It's got a thestral vibe if you're a Harry Potter fan. I just really love the darkness of this deck, if I'm being honest. It's one of my favorite parts of it, and one of the major reasons that I went ahead and snatched it up, because I love the darkness that's there and that can be pulled out and worked on. So I hope you guys enjoyed my favorites and the flip through of the Mariel Tarot 2nd edition. So let's pull some cards for the rest of the week, where we get a scope of what's going on within, what's going on without, and the best way. Sorry, my AC is so loud today. It's kicking, it's hot outside. It's Louisiana. Welcome to the summer. So, all right, let's get these split and ready. I have 4 that want to come out. I think the 2 at the end are kind of in the same sphere. What's going on within? We have the Page of Discs. Lord, sorry. Loud noises in the area. Anyway, let me start this over again. Okay, so for what's within, we have the Page of Discs. I I love this little baby. Oh my goodness. So what's going on within? I feel like there's so much potential that it's almost a feeling of like surprise. You know, like all of a sudden we realize, wow, I could really do this. Or wow, that's really an option. You know, so I'm feeling like there may be a sense of surprise. A sense of like all of a sudden there's this opportunity available. This is something that's coming in for you to nurture and care for and create, you know, like especially that newness of a baby, right? Like all of a sudden, you know, you've been preparing for it, but like it I knew for me, like I prepared for it, like I knew I was having a baby, like that's not the issue. But when the baby is born and it gets there and then you have it in your arms and you're bringing it home, it's like, surprise, this is real. Like all of a sudden there's this opportunity to help mold and shape this beautiful being into their own person and try to instill in them all the things that you can. So I feel like that's kind of what's within, like that, oh my gosh, I have this opportunity that's coming in, right? Without what's going on around us, I really love this, especially with that potential and again, the new, the old. This is beautiful. So what's going around, there may be a transition going on around our space, like on the outside, right? Things may be shifting and changing. There are certain things that we're just gonna have to let go of. They're gonna have to be laid to rest. We're gonna have to move on. But then there's also a very huge sense of that rebirth aspect of it. You know, especially I'm seeing these bright flowers that are here and here. And it just makes me think of that, like, again, this newness coming in. There's like a breath of fresh air. This is something that's going to benefit us in the long run. So maybe there's some shifts, some changes, having to kind of start over or start from scratch, kind of regroup in the outside. And for the advice, we have the 3 of Swords and the 9 of Discs. I feel like the advice, this 3 of Swords reminds me of that heavy heart and of the past, right? Things that have been harmful in the past, things that have caused us to hold that heavy burden, you know? And when it comes to this new potential and kind of things being rearranged, a kind of a rebirth going on, I feel like there's a lot of times where when something is good, I think it's Lisa at Supportive Tarot, she always talks about, then it feels like you're waiting for the shoe to drop, right? You're waiting for something bad to happen. And I feel like the advice in this is that the shoe doesn't always drop, that the bottom doesn't always fall out, that sometimes we have to work through our fears and we have to work through the pain of the past and know that because we understand what happened then, we don't have to repeat that, if that makes any sense. And I feel like the 9 of Discs, let me take a sip before I like completely refreshed. I thought I was gonna go into a coughing fit, but we're good now. Okay, so the 9 of Discs also came out with this 3 of Swords. And I feel like with this 9 of Discs, it always makes me think of like a reward, right? Like you've put in the work and now you get to enjoy it and reap the benefits. And I feel like what it's saying in the scope of these 3, you know, like these 3 things as individuals, when you bring it all together, when you acknowledge that potential, when you allow things to be changed and kind of start fresh, and you release that heaviness that you're holding, that's where the reward comes in. That's where you get to have that moment of like, you know, like just enjoy that reward and that moment. Thank you guys for being with me. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think about this deck. Let me know if you got yours and it was kind of jacked up too. I want to hear what you guys thought about it. And I will see you guys very soon. As always, all my links are in the bio. Be sure to like and subscribe because it really helps me out. And I will see you very, very soon. Sending you all my love. Later, Gators.